Ida Tarbell wrote History of Standard Oil Company, attacking Rockefeller's use of ruthless methods to ruin his competitors. Upton Sinclair wrote The Jungle, which exposed the meatpacking industry and led to the Pure Food and Drug Act and also the Meat Inspection Act. The Meat Inspection Act allowed the federal government to inspect meat across state lines and required inspection of the meat processing plants in 1906. The Pure Food and Drug Act allowed federal government to inspect food and medicine and ban the shipment and sale of impure food and mislabeled food and medicine. Thomas Nast was a political cartoonist who attacked the political and social issues of post-Civil War periods. He was known for his Republican elephant and Democratic donkey, while he was also known for creating the cartoon of Uncle Sam.
Jacob Riis was a photographer for the New York Evening Sun who took pictures of crowded, unsafe tenement houses and published How the Other Half Lives. His pictures shocked the nation and would help to reforms. Lincoln Steffens was a muckraker whose magazine McCullers uncovered social issues. He also published Shame of the Cities in 1903, which was a collection of political corruption. Teddy Roosevelt became president in 1901. He gained a reputation for being smart, energetic, and opinionated. He was a Rough Rider and gained popularity after the Spanish-American War. Roosevelt goals were to keep wealthy and powerful people from taking advantage of small business owners and the poor.
Jane Addams was a leading figure in the settlement house movement. The Whole House was a settlement house in Chicago that grew to become 13 buildings and also inspired other settlement houses in the U.S. Boss Tweed was a New York City politician exposed by Thomas Nast, head of Tammany Hall, the largest political machine. It also led to city and state reforms. Margaret Sanger was an important figure in the temperance movement. She thought that life would improve if women had fewer kids. She also created the invention of birth control pills.
The goal of progressive women was to improve family life, and they pushed for laws to keep mothers and families safe by stopping the consumption of alcohol. Standard Oil versus U.S. was John Rockefeller's oil company violating Sherman Antitrust Act, and in 1909 the court ordered the dissolution of the company.
The anthracite coal strike was in Pennsylvania when mine workers protested for higher pay and better conditions. They threatened to shut down all winter fuel supply to all major cities, and this was the first time the president, Teddy Roosevelt, got involved suspending the strike. This was important because it was the first time any president had ever been on the side of the workers. The Progressive Party was Roosevelt's party that vowed to tackle the trusts in a third presidential term, more commonly known as the Bull Moose Party. In the election of 1912, it split up the Republican Party into two parts.
The NAACP aimed to help African Americans be physically free from low-paid labor and mentally free from ignorance, politically free from disenfranchisement, and socially free from insults. It was founded by W.E.B. Du Bois.
The 16th Amendment gave Congress power to collect taxes on people's income. That was in 1913. The 17th Amendment was allowed direct election of senators by the people of each state in 1913. The 18th Amendment banned the making, selling, transporting of alcohol in the U.S. in 1919, and the 19th Amendment gave the women right to vote in all elections in 1920.
The Hepburn Act authorized the federal government to regulate railroad rates and set maximum prices for ferries, bridge tolls, and pipelines. This was in 1906. The Elkins Act imposed fines on railroads that gave special rates to favored shippers. This was in 1903. The Underwood Tariff Act lowered tariffs on imports, established a guaranteed income tax. This was in 1913. Federal Reserve Act created Federal Reserve Board to oversee banks and manage reserve funds. This was in 1913.
The Clayton Antitrust Act strengthened the Sherman Antitrust Act by spelling out specific activities that businesses could not do. This was in 1914.
The end.